Hey class, for essay 3, we are doing a Tolman model research essay. And so this is probably going to be our most challenging essay yet because it is not in the typical sort of essay structure or format that we've learned up to this point. It will be in a Tolman model formatting. So make sure you're really reviewing those support materials in our modules on what a Tolman model is and how to fulfill that, okay? But essentially, you will have a rough draft, peer reviews, and a final draft, right? So make sure you're checking Canvas for the date. Overview, so this essay is both a Tolman model and your final research essay for the course, right? So think about your topic carefully. Be sure to choose a topic that is both interesting to you and complex enough to develop into a 2,000 word essay, right? Furthermore, it will be critical that you have read and review the locavore myth, and thinking with Tolman's methods. So reviewing all those Tolman materials, right, that we've been going over in our class modules, right? So specifics for this assignment, you will write a 2,000 to 2,500 word essay. And you're going to choose to respond to one of the essays in part 5 of our textbook. So in order to complete the task, you'll have to have read and chosen one of the essays. I will include a list on our information page on what choices you have. But be sure to fully understand the purpose and argument the author is presenting, right? So that's step 1. Analyze the text very carefully and just review and make sure you know exactly what it's saying. So you're going to be responding to the argument and argue for your perspective using the Tolman method, right? So make sure that you are thinking about what your personal belief is alongside this topic. Sorry. So the claim, right, which is a Tolman sort of idea. What is your response to the argument being presented? Do you agree, disagree, or maybe a bit of both? This is something you're probably going to want to address in that intro. So in your intro, you are still going to have a typical sort of intro paragraph like what we've learned throughout our school years. And then your thesis is going to ultimately be that claim, right? The grounds will be probably going into your first body paragraph, multiple body paragraphs possibly below, right? So be sure to provide new information. Don't simply just restate what the author is saying. This is where you're really kind of bolstering why your perspective or your response is the way it is, right? So you can include some outside sources here. The warrant then is where you're going to fully explain how your evidence supports your claim. So this is where you're tying your research and your opinions back to that topic clearly, right? And then the backing is any sort of follow-up information that you really need to sort of pound in there, right, to sort of present your perspective. And why should the reader agree with you without saying the reader should agree with me, right? We don't want to actually say that. But ultimately, why should the reader be agreeing with you? So modal qualifiers are essentially words that you're going to use throughout the entire essay probably. So language like in most cases, generally it's true that, right? So we want to make sure that we're not generalizing. We don't want to say everyone, all things, no one, right? You want to use a lot of language that suggests that there's fluidity and flexibility and there's perspectives here, right, to be considered. You are going to have a counter argument, right? And this will be your last body paragraph is going to be that counter argument. And then you're going to refute that counter argument, right? So ultimately, that should be your conclusion paragraph. So it's not a typical conclusion. Your refute or your rebuttal is the conclusion, right? So that's not typical. So make sure that you're kind of making note of this. Also note that this must be a different topic than essay 2. All right, so whatever you wrote for essay 2, this needs to be something different. So requirements, craft an enticing and relevant title. So we should know this by now, not essay 3, right? Have a clear, well-developed, thought-provoking thesis that is presented. This is ultimately your claim, right? So already checking off a box of the Tolman method, right? Organize your argument in the Tolman method way. So the claim, your grounds, warrant, backing, modal qualifiers are usually the words that you're going to have throughout, and then that rebuttal, right? You need a counter argument before you rebuttal though. Write in an appropriate college level tone, third person, no colloquial language, right? So no I, me's, my's, or you's. This should be clear by now. Supply evidence or direct quotes, summary, paraphrasing, right, from at least 5 credible sources, one of which can easily be the article you're responding to. Clearly introduce and analyze all quoted and paraphrased materials. Make sure you're using words like according to, blah, 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 so that you or so-and-so says or argues or mentions, right? Using your signal verbs, mentions, argues, says, and using names or source names, right? Clearly, don't just say the author says. Who's the author? We're using multiple sources, right? Be sure your introductory sentences transition smoothly and work to introduce the ideas within each paragraph. Remember, your topic sentences are like mini thesis statements. Whatever you're saying, you're promising that everything that follows is going to connect back up to it. Besides that, you want to write with clarity and precision, demonstrating a mastery of standard English grammar. Read your writing out loud. Take it to the net tutors, take it to the learning center, send me, your intro and your thesis just to make sure that you're on the right track. I'm here to support you. All right. You want your essay to be an MLA formatting. You want it to be 2,000 to 2,500 words. You want to include a works cited, including all your sources, ABC, order, hanging indent. If you're still struggling to create a hanging indent, I encourage you to look at YouTube and just type in, how do I create a hanging indent on Word or on Google Docs, depending on what you're using. And there's really quick, easy tutorials on how to create that formatting correctly so that you're not losing the formatting when you submit. And then you just submit your essay via Canvas. So I am here and happy to support you. I hope we generally know the drill by now, but if you don't hesitate to reach out. I really understand that, it can be hard, especially because this Tolman method is going to be a little bit different. So if you're struggling at all, don't worry, just reach out, okay?